Do you love going to Broadway shows, but can't go now because Broadway's closed? Join tour guide Tim and Belasco too as they bring Broadway history to you. Grab your Broadway passport for what's in store on your Virtual Broadway Tour.
The Booth Theater, built in 1913 as a joint venture by the Shubert brothers and wealthy producer Winthrop Ames, was designed as the fraternal twin of the adjoining Shubert Theater, completing the western edge of Shubert Alley. This Booth Theater would be the second New York theater to bear that name. The original Booth's Theater was built on 23rd Street and 6th Avenue in 1869 and had been demolished. In contrast to the large and lavish Shubert Theater, this uptown booth was intended for a new, emerging kind of drama known as intimate theater. The walls of the theater were paneled in wooden wainscoting, providing acoustic excellence and the ambiance of a living room. For the name of the theater, Lee Shubert and Ames believed that putting the name of a famous classical actor on the marquee would prove to be good luck. And they were right. The theater is known as one of Broadway's most coveted playhouses and has since housed 5 Pulitzer Prize-winning shows. You Can't Take It With You, The Time of Your Life, That Championship Season, Sunday in the Park with George, and Next to Normal. Lucky indeed. The Booth holds the distinction of being Times Square's first theater named in honor of an actor, but many people may be surprised to know that the name of that actor is Edwin, not his infamous brother John Wilkes. The patriarch of the Booth family was Junius Brutus Booth, who found great theatrical success in London before heading to the US. While Junius was touring, his wife, Mary Ann, was responsible for raising their 10 children on their homestead in Maryland. Towards the end of his career, Junius was notorious for showing up to performances intoxicated or missing shows entirely after long periods of drinking. Mary Ann, frustrated with her husband's behavior, decided to send one of their children on the road as a chaperone. Of the 10 children, it seemed that the 2 best suited for the task were young Edwin and John Wilkes, and ultimately it was decided that 12-year-old Edwin would travel with his father as his companion, chaperone, and ultimately his theatrical heir. John Wilkes, stuck at home and entrenched in the politics of the South during the war, became embroiled in a plot that would climax in the place most associated with his last name, a theater. On April 14, 1865, John Wilkes assassinated President Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., forever changing the Booth family legacy. With landmark status granted to the Booth on November 4th, 1987, very little has changed in this beautiful theater. However, one small backstage change can be witnessed by anyone walking through Shubert Alley. The souvenir shop, 1 Shubert Alley, is actually the original star dressing room for the Booth. The interior entrance to the dressing room can still be seen backstage right, but it has long since been sealed off. Perhaps the only other change since opening night in 1913 is that the lobby no longer holds artifacts from Edwin Booth's life and career as it once did. These artifacts, including programs and memorabilia, were originally collected by the father of Winthrop Ames and were displayed in the lobby of the first Booth's Theater. After that building was demolished, the items were moved to this new uptown theater deemed a wonderful showplace. It's believed that the items were eventually moved to the Players Club on 20th Street, originally the home of Edwin Booth, where many of them are still on display. The Players was a social club created by Edwin Booth for other like-minded artists and forward thinkers, and is still in operation today. While the Actors' Equity Association was formed in a small room on the 2nd floor, perhaps the most notable room in the building is Edwin's bedroom on one of the upper floors. On June 7, 1893, the day of Edwin Booth's passing at the age of 59, his personal physician removed his body and the room was preserved. To this day, the room is in the exact same state it was on that fateful day, down to the human skull performance prop on the coffee table, his slippers by the foot of his bed, and a small picture of his brother, John Wilkes, on his bedside table. In 1916, just 3 years after the completion of the Booth Theater, a statue of Edwin in the title role of Shakespeare's Hamlet was unveiled in Gramercy Park directly in front of the bedroom window at the Players Club. Gramercy Park is a secret garden of sorts, only accessible by a key given to those residences that line the rectangular park. So the only way to view the statue is through the thick black gates, or to make friends with one of the locals, like I did a few years ago. This statue, combined with the namesake theater on 45th Street, are two comforting reminders of the original legacy of one of the most famous theater families in the United States.
Happy Saturday noon/night on Broadway. I'm glad you can join us. Welcome to our little live session on this beautiful Saturday. Every week we're coming to you live with someone who has worked at the theater we've featured that week. And this week we're joined by the incredible Rebecca Jean Heroff, head props at the Booth Theater. For those that aren't familiar with me or Broadway Up Close, my name is Tim Dolan. I'm an actor and I'm the owner of Broadway Up Close walking tours in New York City. For the past 10 years, since 2010, me and my green team, made up of actors and stage managers, have hit the sidewalks of Times Square, digging up history, ghost stories, fun facts, and all the things you didn't know that you really want to know about Broadway. Last year, we opened our gift shop in the middle of Times Square, currently positioned at 45th Street, right in front of Lion King. You might recognize it. It's very green, like everything in my life. It also, next to it, has a 6-foot-tall Broadway sign made of marquee letters that spells out my favorite word, Broadway. 150 light bulbs. Currently, none of them lit up because of COVID-19, ruining my life, but here we are. We have 5 exterior tours this fall. We also opened our first interior tour, which is inside the oldest Broadway theater, the Hudson Theater on 44th Street. For more information on those tours, everything in my life, merchandise, gifts, you should go to www.broadwayupclose.com, but you shouldn't do it right now. You should wait till after we're done talking to Rebecca, and then you should do that. If you've joined us before, you know that I've shared my kind of story of how this all went down. March 12th in the tour guide community, we call that Red Thursday, when everything shut down. I think I initially thought it would be a couple weeks, and then maybe a month, and then maybe 2 months. And then now here we are, what feels like 8 million days later. I think it's going to be a while. I think it'll probably end up being about a year, maybe, if we're optimistic. And so I thought, I'm missing connecting with people, theater goers, Broadway. So let's take it online, and we'll do one theater a week, 41 theaters, 41 weeks. Every week we'll talk to someone who worked at that theater as the end of the week. And so this week is week 10. We're a quarter of the way through. We hit the booth all week. So I hope you've enjoyed the history, the fun facts all week. How will today work? For today's series, we're going to talk about Rebecca's theatrical journey, her time working at the Booth, as well as a couple of other theaters she's worked at in her role as head props. If you have any questions for her, or you have any questions for me along the way, drop it in the comments. And for those that are joining us live, you should comment right now, take 2 seconds and say hi. And you should tell us where you're watching from in the comments so I can see how far our stories are traveling today. And so without further ado, join me in welcoming Broadway's Rebecca Jean Heroff. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, I'm so wonderful. Thank you. Where are you Broadway shutdowning at currently?
Oh, I'm at my house in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
I love that. And so do you, when we're not in a COVID-19 global pandemic Broadway shutdown, do you commute in every day from Atlantic City?
No. I have an apartment. That would be like a 2-hour. Yeah.
I was like, that's dedication is what that is.
I would if I could, but I have an apartment in West New York, New Jersey, which is right across the Hudson from like Midtown. So It takes me 20 minutes to get in and out. Really
I'm
easy.
obsessed with that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so talk to us. Tell us about, for those who don't know you, tell us about where you grew up, maybe first exposure to like theater when you started to be like, maybe this is a thing I want to do in my life. If you went to school, if there was college involved, and then get us all the way to like when you're in New York City, Broadway life starts, and then we'll talk more niche about all of that.
Okay. Let's see.
It's a lot.
I know. I'm like, how can I?
You're like, oh gosh.
This is a half hour? No.
Yes.
Well, I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota.
Okay.
And I still consider myself a Minnesotan, even though I've been in New York for 23 years.
You still, I can tell it. There's like a still slight accent that's still there. I
could do it. Like if you want me to do this in a Minnesota accent. Yeah, sure, you betcha. Okay.
Some things don't, you can flip right into it. They'll never go away.
I know. And I was of Catholic school. Every week we used to like put on a play. We used to have mass every week, and we would break it up into like songs, little skits we would do, and stuff like that every week. So like as I think back, I'm like, is that where my like love of theater like started? You know, because we were like up on the altar, like a stage. It's very theatrical. So then in high school, I started getting involved with the drama club, and I think I was president of the drama club. I was VP or president, something.
Sure.
But we did lots of musicals and plays, and I remember doing props on the Diary of Anne Frank when I think I was a sophomore, and we actually used my real cat in the play as a prop.
Hilarious. Yeah, in professional theater, I don't know if those are necessarily considered props any longer, but sure, high school, sure.
I know. And then I went to St. Mary's College in Winona, Minnesota. Okay. And I was lucky enough to go to a college that had a brand new theater, which was amazing. It was actually the second year of the theater when I went there. And all of us that were involved in theater, we did everything. We were the carpenters, the prop people, the actors. I mean, it was such a good experience there. And it was in a small town. So like we didn't really have a lot else to do. So I swear I did theater 24/7, you know. Like,
and your goal when you went to college, was it, when I come out of college, I want to be an actress. Was there like a goal in mind, or was it like, I just want theater in my life and this program will expose me to 8 million versions of that?
I think when I first went to college, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I was kind of interested in radio because radio was really big then. This was back in 1988, you know.
Sure.
So I was just like obsessed with radio. And so I was a DJ a little while at college. At least like 1 year I was a DJ, and that was fun. But then I fell back into theater because that's what I did in high school. And I wasn't really ever an actor, but I acted, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
I was more into like set design and stage management. Those were the two big things that I did. And then I was also an art minor, fine arts, because I painting and stuff like that. It just goes along with the props and scenic design and all of that.
Sure.
But yeah.
Oh, crazy. Okay, so then you finished college, and then where do you go from college? Do you go right to New York City?
No, I graduated from college in '92, and I did an internship at the Ordway Music Theater in St. Paul with the help of my friend Ben Johnson. And I was an intern for the education department, and they had this Broadway show coming in. Like, it was a roadhouse. And actually, the Broadway show went to the State Theater in Minneapolis, and it was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, starring Donny Osmond.
I'm mildly familiar, sure.
And they asked me if I wanted to be the child wrangler. And I was like, yes, it's a Broadway show. I mean, the year I graduate from college and I'm working on a Broadway show. Okay.
Yes.
I had never babysat in my life. So, you know.
This is trial by fire backstage.
And get this, it's like 4 choirs of 25 kids each. So there's 100 kids in the show, 50 at a time. And like, there was a lot of keeping quiet. And I was basically, in my mind, the stage manager for these choirs of kids, because I had to keep them in line backstage and make sure they were where they were supposed to be, just like what stage managers do. You know?
Yeah.
So I did that. It was there in Minneapolis for like 4 months, and then it went away to Chicago. SHUBERT came into town, and I did the same thing on SHUBERT.
Which would have been the Hal Prince '94 revival on tour?
It was actually the live event production of SHUBERT before it came to Broadway.
Oh,
it was starring Cloris Leachman, and I think Rebecca Luker was in it.
I think she did it out of town.
Yeah, and Hugh Pinero.
Come on.
Who played and George Grizzard was Captain Andy.
Yes.
And it was awesome. It was just great. And then
this is you like in your early 20s? Like this is you?
Yeah, 23.
And you're like, this is so easy. I love Broadway.
George Gozard like drove me to work one day. I'm like, okay, like that's cool.
What?
I know. And I was this close to becoming Cloris Leachman's assistant too. They asked me if I could do that, but she lived out a little bit, so I couldn't.
Wow.
That would be amazing.
Wow.
Then Joseph came back and I worked on Joseph again.
And so then how long in your life did you spend like at this theater with things coming through?
I was in Minneapolis and St. Paul probably 4 years. Oh no, I graduated in 92. So 2 or 3 years before I went on the road with Joseph, and in Detroit, Boston, Detroit again, Chicago. And then I tried LA for a month with my friend JP. Then I tried Las Vegas for a month with another friend, Todd. And then I moved to New York. So that we're up to 1997 now.
Okay.
In New York City.
There.
And I met my husband on Joseph. He was the sound engineer. He also mixed Tommy on Broadway and Noise Funk. Yeah,
and so then the two of you come together to New York?
He lived here already.
Oh yeah.
I moved here. Yeah. In 97.
Okay, and so then what's your Broadway debut, and was it props?
It was not props. Guess what it was?
Oh gosh. Was it backstage?
It was child wrangling.
It was?
Yeah, but this is exciting. It was actually the first job I had was I worked in Stuart Thompson's office.
Yeah.
He passed away a couple of years ago. And through that office, I got the job on High Society. And I was Anna Kendrick's.
I was going to say, wait, I know where this is going. Wait.
I was Anna Kendrick's. We called it bodyguard because, she was 13 or 12. She didn't want a child wrangler. It sounded weird. So I said, okay, I'll be your bodyguard. So,
wow.
Yeah. And so I got to hang out with her.
For those who are watching, if you've ever seen, I think it was like the Leading Ladies DVD they made 8,000 years ago. Anna Kendrick sings Life Upon the Wicked Stage, I think, when she's around this time, when she's like 13.
Yeah, amazing.
Crazy.
So talented.
Wow.
And then I moved to Ragtime and still child wrangling with Leah Michelle and all of those kids. And then that was my last.
The original production at the Ford.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes. Rebecca, you're blowing my mind right now. I didn't know any of this.
I've done a lot of like weird things. Like, so my journey is like all over the place.
Welcome to every, I think, theatrical person in the world. What was it like to work at the Ford Center with that being a brand new theater, Garth Drabinsky and Toronto and all of that insanity? What was it like to be a cog in the wheel of that?
I had worked on live event shows. That's really how I got there. So because I did, Joseph was live event, Showboat was live event.
Yeah.
And so Ragtime, I knew the stage managers from touring. So that's kind of how I got that job at Ragtime. And all that was happening during Ragtime. That's why I think we ended up closing early. But I mean, it was a beautiful show. One thing about his shows were the amount of people in the cast and just the music and everything was done right.
Yeah.
Well, almost everything was done right.
Well, yeah, maybe. Accounting was maybe a different story. Sure.
I have no complaints. I don't.
Wow.
Because it was all good experiences for me. But during that time, I started to shop props and swatch for a lot of designers and for Broadway shows that were going on. So like as I was the child wrangling for High Society and Ragtime, I was also doing some prop stuff.
Okay.
Because that's what I really wanted to do, obviously. So
yeah. And then do you have to be a child wrangler? I'm afraid I don't know enough about the ins and outs of child wrangling. You're going to tell us. That's why you're here. Do you have to be, is it a union? Is it IATSE? Is it like its own, it's just a person? Like, what is it?
When I did it back then, it was not union. And I was trying to get it to be union because it was a required job, equity required, that the children have like somebody that's a stage manager for them.
Right.
But it's not until recently, maybe the last 5 years or so, they got in the union. I think they're actually in the wardrobe union.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay.
I don't know, but I haven't done that job for 20 years. Yeah.
20 wow. Years. Okay, so then first main head props job on Broadway was?
I first in the year 2000. I got my Local 1 card, and my first job was on a musical called Amore at the Music Box Theater, starring Melissa Errico, which was a beautiful little musical that closed in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and the cast was crazy. Wow.
Yes. Who else was in it? Melissa Errico and just Norm Lewis, I think, was in it. Like
Malcolm Getz, maybe.
People. Yeah. Yes.
Crazy.
It was so cute. Yeah, that was my first job with a union card.
Yeah. So then talk to us about like Local 1, because I'm equity. We talk a lot about equity, non-equity, but we don't ever. You're our first like backstage technician we've had on the series. So like, talk to us about. You're very fancy. Talk to us about like how one, especially Local 1, which is to me, in my little knowledge, the most prestigious and fancy of them all.
Best union in all the land. Best local in all the land.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what they say.
It is Local 1.
Yeah, like, Local 1.
Like, numerically, we win.
Yes, exactly.
So how does one get your union card as Local 1?
I'll give you 2 ways that are really good ways. You have to make a certain amount of money for 3 years in a row.
Okay.
And then you take a bunch of classes and you get voted in and sworn in at a meeting. Now, how you make that money is you can go to the union hall like every day, and they have a shaping room where you can go and see if there's extra work. You just have to like meet everybody, find people that like you, and have them hire you, and show your skills, show us what you can do, and make that money and work hard and get into the union. And then another way is, and nobody should be afraid to like go to the union office either. If they're interested in being a stagehand, a Broadway stagehand, like go over there, 46th Street, our union hall is there, and like go in and see if there's somebody that will talk to you and tell you what it's all about.
It's something as brazen as that, where if they're genuinely interested and think that they have it, they could just go and say like, this is the thing I want to know more about.
Or somebody will direct them where to find. I mean, we have a website too. If you want more information, yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean,
it feels like in the actor world.
I like to encourage people,
Oh, for sure. In the olden days, it feels like as an actor, they're like, well, just go to the stage door and drop off your headshot. And now,
well, that's what they say too, is go to every theater and introduce yourself to the house heads, which they're electrician, carpenter, and props. So that's what people do as well. Just go and hand a card and, introduce yourself. So people start to get to know you. So if they need people, they'll call you and say, hey, come and work. And you make that money, and then you can. And
then you're in.
Yeah, get in.
I'm obsessed with that.
Another way is we have an apprenticeship program, which is really great. I know a bunch of people, really talented people that have been apprentices for Local 1. And they do a test every year. Anybody can take the test. And the apprenticeships are at NBC, at, let's see, probably CBS, ABC, Lincoln Center, like Roundabout, I think, has an apprentice. And you're apprentice for like 3 years, and you're making money. And you learn, like at Lincoln Center, you learn really everything, because you go to sound, you learn about sound, electrician, you learn about electrics,
you're meeting all the people.
And you're meeting people, and you're learning. And that's, if I had to do it over and I didn't know how to do it, I think I would definitely try to be an apprentice. I mean,
especially in any trade or any situation where it is a lot about who you know and experience. I think that's the best way to make all things happen. You're learning.
It's definitely a little bit who you know too. So it's good to know people. And I think all my journey of like all the shows I did, even though I wasn't doing necessarily what I wanted to be doing, I met so many people that really helped me,
Yeah. And it's all, you start to, I don't know, the longer you get in this business, it feels like you're like, oh, that led to this. If I hadn't done this, how funny, they knew me from that random thing. So then I did this.
Yeah.
And it is. And it's all, that old adage of, it's
don't be afraid to like go for it.
Yeah.
And No, and don't say no a lot. Just if you're afraid, just do it.
I love that.
Try. Yeah. That's
and so then how long have you been? So okay, you worked at the Music Box. What other Broadway houses have you been?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was thinking about this. I have been a house head since 2017.
Okay.
So just a couple years. And I've been a prop house head at 4 different theaters. Now, the first one was the Walter
Kerr, yep.
I was kind of, it kind of counts and it kind of doesn't, because I was like a transitional, they kind of like put me in there as a transitional person. So I was there for 3 months as the house head, because I was working on the show. It was Take Me Out.
Sure.
Already. So I was there for so I count it because whatever.
Well done.
But fast forward to 2017. So I'm working for the SHUBERTs, and I am the house head at the Court Theater. And my first show is Indecent, which is an amazing show.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And then we did Butterfly.
Yes. Also beautiful.
And I think those are the only 2 shows I did there before I moved to the Majestic Theater for a summer.
Really?
And I got to work on Phantom of the Opera.
So then what is that
amazing.
like coming into? So that would have been what, maybe 2018?
That was it was 2 summers ago. 2
so
summers
it's like
ago.
30 years into the
2018.
run. What's that like to come into a show that's been running for 30 years?
I was terrified, kind of, but
yes, I can imagine.
And the track is pretty, I mean, everybody knows their track. Everybody's been there for 10, 20. One of my crew members had been there for 30 years. He retired. But everybody there was great. And there was really nothing to be afraid of, because everybody knew what everybody else was supposed to do. So if you were someplace you shouldn't be, it's just like automatic,
Yeah.
It was
they were
amazing.
like, yeah, no, go there.
And it was just so much fun. It really turned out to be really fun. It was like working at Disneyland. I mean,
wow.
I was a fan of the opera.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the quintessential.
Yeah.
And I love that you call it your track, because in our actor world, it's the same thing. You're like the Man 5 track. You're the lead.
Yeah.
You're the Phantom track. And so in your world, it's the same thing. You're on. I was the prop,
the house head track. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I didn't know that we share so much lingo.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you guys feel so different than us, but I was like, you're all just the same. We're all just sharing communal space. Okay,
we
so
all
then
need
after
each
the
other.
Majestic, isn't that the truth, especially now? So then that leads us to the booth, I think.
Yes, the booth.
Nailed it. And so what shows have you done? What was your first show? Name the shows you've done there.
My first show at the booth was American Son.
Yes.
With Kerry Washington, who did an awesome job the other night on the convention.
Oh, she sure did.
And then we did Gary, the sequel to Titus Andronicus,
which was crazy as head props. I can only imagine.
Oh my goodness, yes. Lots of blood, lots of bodies. Other things. Lots of bodies. Did you see it?
I did.
You saw it, right?
Crazy, yes.
Pigeons, like everything,
Yeah.
And they wanted live pigeons, but it was totally toned down to what it was, they wanted it to be.
Which is crazy that's the toned down version.
Oh, it was totally toned down. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Freestyle Love Supreme, which was amazing. And then
had to have been like a rock concert every night, I imagine.
Oh my God. It's in my top 2, if not number 1 show that I've ever worked on. It was just so much fun, so much creativity, so much like excitement in the air.
Yeah.
It was like working in a
Are you in charge of the microphone?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's the thing too. Like I had no props on that show. It was like I had stools.
Yeah.
I had towels that they used on stage for things. And then did you see that show?
Freestyle Love, I missed it. I was gone. Yeah.
They had these little cards before the show that the audience members could write words on.
Okay.
And then right before the show, I would go collect all the cards, and we would sort through them to find some, take out all the duplicates or like bad words, and and we would put a bucket on stage. That was my job. So then they would take out the card and, do a rap about whatever the word was. Yeah, like a quick thing.
Sure.
But it was awesome. I felt like I was working in a nightclub every night.
Yeah.
Just so much fun.
And, especially having come off of Gary to that.
I know. Every show has been completely different. American Son, Gary, yeah, so far. And then our most recent show, Virginia Woolf, sadly.
For 9 previews.
I know. Was it that many? I thought it was yeah.
That's what I read anyway. I didn't see it. I missed it.
Sadly. And we were all there loading in still. Well, we were doing previews, but we were working in the morning and March, and we at noon and like you said, we thought it was going to be a couple weeks, and it's probably at least going to be a year.
Yeah,
so that's
and
sadly.
So is the set of Virginia Woolf just sits there in the theater?
It is still there, but this Monday, day after tomorrow, we are starting a loadout. So we'll actually be at the theater. I will actually be in New York for the first time since March 12th on Monday, and we're gonna load the show out, which is really sad.
It's that when we're on a tour, people always, because we see the thing on a tour that people see the most is the load in, load out process, because all of your stuff is there on the sidewalk, and the Anthony Aguilar truck pulls up, and so I always call it Broadway's hearse. I was like, oh yeah, that's like a show's moving out. It's so sad. I was like,
that is sad. And it was sad because I was like, I wish they would have taped it or something,
it's so fleeting.
Yeah. And it's going to be weird too because of all the rules and.
Oh, your whole life is going to.
Yeah, we can't be near each other. And it's like, this is going to be interesting. That's what I keep on saying. It's going to be really interesting. Yeah,
it's going to be, I think this whole time will be unlike anything in our entire lives. It's just. Yeah,
absolutely.
Caitlin has a question for you. She says, hi, Rebecca. What has been your best prop find over the years?
Oh, my gosh. My best prop find. Well, I forgot to mention that I did props on Saturday Night Live for a while. And I still do when they need me.
That casual thing. You're like, and
I worked on Late Night with Seth Meyers when it first started for 3 years, which was fun. Doing prop shopping and stuff like that. But one of my favorite props that I found was on Saturday Night Live. And it was a chimpanzee skeleton, but it wasn't really a chimpanzee skeleton. I had to buy a cat skeleton and a monkey skull, and they put them together to make they were fake bones, but and it's still hanging in the prop room there, which is funny. But that was one of my favorite props that I found.
There's moments like that I'm like, you have to go, and I get paid to do this. This is my job.
I know. Yeah, that's one thing. Especially on Saturday Night Live, you're like, what am I going to buy? What? Because you get like weird things, and you only have like a day to buy everything too, because it's live. It's Saturday Night Live.
Right.
So,
wow.
Yeah, but I love working on that show. It was a dream come true. I just love being there. Yeah.
And so what's the, theater to theater? Is it I think a big, small family community? So Susan here says, my friend loaded out Sing Street last week. So are you in the loop of all the goings on of when things are loaded in or loaded out? Or is it very we just do our booth thing and then we don't really know a lot what's happening elsewhere?
No, I think we know the word gets around.
Yeah.
There's a grapevine,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely. Yeah, they loaded that out at the Lyceum, right?
The Lyceum, yeah.
Yeah.
And then everything is. I was doing I do a playbill class, a virtual class where we bring our tours virtually. And on the class on Wednesday, one of the leads from Sing Street was watching. And I showed a ghost light photo because we were talking about the ghost light. And it was, I had been in the Lyceum the day before the shutdown for doing some research. And I said, let me just take a picture of the ghost light, not knowing that I'm not going to be in a theater anytime soon. And he was like, I was supposed to be making my Broadway debut right now at 8 p.m. And I was like, oh God, it's
you'll do it. Yeah.
I was like, let's do it in a year. They'll bring it back in. It'll all be fine. Will
come back. Yeah, definitely. I've heard really great things about that show. It will come back.
Yeah,
it's just frustrating. We'll get through it.
Yeah, day by day.
And it'll be better than ever.
Yeah, I think I was like, people will appreciate it more. We won't take things for granted. We got this one day at a time.
Yeah,
one day closer to Broadway. That's what I keep saying. Absolutely. So then talk to me about okay, you work at the booth. Do you, like, as an actor, we have show contracts. So the moment the show's done, closing notice is posted, they're like, bye, wasn't this fun? See ya. And so do you, like, for your contracts, it's like, do you stay with the theater for X amount of time until they're sick of you? How does any of that work?
Well, I am at the Booth Theater forever if I wanted to be, probably. And I mean, every time somebody retires or something, they might ask you if you want to move to a different theater.
Wow. And
your choice is to stay, you know, but it's pretty much up until I done it. But I love it, so.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you, and then like the Shuberts who own the building, because the court is a Shubert, the Majestic is a Shubert, the Booth is a Shubert. Are you like in the Shubert world, and that's why you hop around to those specific theaters?
Yes, the Shuberts. I work for the Shuberts. Yes. And
have you ever been to their office up top?
Which one?
The one up top of the Shubert Theater?
No, I've never been up there. I don't think.
We're gonna work on that. You're gonna get up there and see some like secret cam footage. It's like the only place I haven't been that I want to go.
Oh my gosh. No, I've never been up there. I've been up to the Belasco, you know, the apartment.
Oh, it's
and I've
crazy.
Been in the Lyceum, the archives.
Yeah.
But I've never been up above the Schubert. No.
Okay, we're gonna work on that. All right.
Okay, cool.
Next time I see you in the neighborhood, we'll just go and knock. We'll do what you say. We'll just knock and say, I'm here to
I work for you. Can I go see the offices?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. One of the things I loved that you showed and shared with me, I was doing research for this week, and I said, do you have a picture of this, the backstage door? And you were like, I don't know about that, but how about this door? And it was the door to the Shubert. And so they're connected in the basement?
Yeah, that's funny. I never knew what that was until like we were loading in Virginia Woolf, and we had a wardrobe supervisor, Antoinette, who was working on Mockingbird, and her stuff was in the wardrobe room over there. And she said, "Do you think we can just open up the door and I can just bring my stuff?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And then I went to security. I'm like, can we open that door? And then I showed you the video of opening the door. And the wardrobe room at the Shubert Theater is right on the other side of this door in the Booth basement. It just like, I had no idea. Like,
wow.
It's so cool. Like, I was like, wow, you could actually have somebody, like an actor, in a show at the Shubert. And then he or she could be in a show.
Can you imagine?
That would be amazing. That would be so cool. Yeah, they're in both shows.
I remember reading years ago, this is like, I've like building these tours. I've done like weird research into like the weird parts and the buildings themselves and the history and all that. And in a chorus line, they used to, in the hour and 50 minutes that the show was, they wanted the air turned off during music in the mirror because they wanted it absolutely silent, but the air conditioning controls were in the booth. And so one guy at every show would have to run probably through that door to the booth, turn off the air conditioning, run back, and then they wanted it on during music in the mirror. They wanted it off during Paul's dramatic silent monologue. And so this was like all planned. And I just imagine like this guy running through like a dirt tunnel. Of course it's not dirt, but I imagine like the tunnel of Schubert Alley.
There's probably a dirt tunnel somewhere.
I'm sure.
I don't know.
So you showing me that photo of you opening that like ancient door that says like Schubert, I was like, dreams do come true.
Yeah,
oh my God,
it says Schubert Theater on it. Like, and I was like, I never knew really what it was. I had no idea.
You're like, I wonder what's behind you. There's no way that it's actually the Schubert Theater, and then it is the Schubert Theater.
Amazing. And it's like you walk in there and it's like the wardrobe room. Like, what? Yeah, crazy. And this other door that you're talking about, now watch, I never noticed it, but it's probably like right there. Yeah. And I just like never noticed it. Like I'm imagining maybe it's right next to the stage door.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right there.
I'm thinking stage right is what I'm thinking.
I'll find out on Monday.
Yes, and take a picture and send it to me.
I will, for sure.
Your Instagram, you do a thing, which I can't believe I didn't know this, like pre-COVID. It's awesome. You do what? One photo a day?
I do a photo backstage a day, and I do it hashtag what's backstage, and then hashtag props is tops. Those are the two that I always put in there. But I try to take some kind of creative picture of something backstage, usually, and post it every day to my Instagram. And it's kind of like a journal for me. Like if somebody says, yeah, hey, do you remember such and such? I'm like, yeah, let's see what day that was. I can remember because of the picture I took. So, but I started it on M Butterfly, I think, at the court. And I've done,
If we want to see those photos and go back in time, Gypsy Beck, Beke, is that right?
Yeah, it's Gypsy Becky, but Beke. Yeah,
sure,
Beke.
Sure. Okay, let me see if I can make that happen. Let's see.
Because I played a gypsy in high school, and that was my nickname, Gypsy Becky.
Yeah, the jack of all trades, going from department to department.
Gypsy.
Yeah, that sounds perfectly right. So there, if you want to go back in time like I did and see photo by photo, it's really, it's really, really cool.
I have been doing like a picture. I've been trying to do a picture a day, like since COVID struck. So those will all be at my house. That's go back to March 12th. The last picture I took at the booth is all the seats covered with plastic, which is really sad. So once you hit that picture, just go back and you'll have a picture a day. Well, the Gary ones are pretty good.
And maybe Monday, we'll get a picture from the booth on Monday, maybe, when you start loading out.
Yes, actually when I'm there, I will take pictures there.
Okay. Maybe your first one's going to be a picture of the door that goes to the old
It will be. Absolutely.
Okay, great.
And then I'll go up to the offices.
You're like, I'll do a quick selfie in the office, and you're like, he just wanted all these random photos of the places I can't get. This is incredible. Do you you've given great advice for those who want to get into the world of all of this. I'm glad you're like surviving the shutdown intact. And thank you for giving us a little bit of insight into the world that we actors, don't often know too much about, or the rest of the world doesn't see. If you had any final thoughts of like what it's like to work as a head props on Broadway in one of the biggest unions in the world, if you had to sum it up of your feelings about all of that in like one sentence, what would you say?
I'm very lucky. It's a dream come true. How about that?
I love that. That's perfect.
Very, very lucky.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree that it seems like a pretty magical job. I love that. You've been incredible.
It is fun. It is fun. It's nice to go to work and do what you like doing.
Yeah, that's me every day of my life. Talking about theater, you're like, I could be putting on an Elmo head. Can you hear me now? We could be putting on an Elmo head, and standing in Times Square could be our job. So it can always be worse, is what I say.
Yeah.
Like I see it every day. You're like, well, I could be doing that.
Oh my goodness.
It's going well.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
No. Rebecca, you've been absolutely magical. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday with us. We'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your Broadway shutdown. Good luck on Monday. Stay safe, and thank you for everything.
Thank you for inviting me. This was fun. Thank you.
Of course, I hope you had a good time. Bye, Rebecca. She's awesome. It's interesting to see, like I say, us actor or the Naked Cowboy, Barbara says, yes, you're not wrong, Barbara, Robert, as I know him. It's interesting to see like another part of the world, to see what overlap there is between lingo and things. And it's fun to talk to someone, the unions, the stagehands, there's a sense of job security in an industry that's otherwise has no job security with going from show to show in the same building. So it's a fun perspective through it all. If you followed us at all this week, we released some new merch. We released something about working on For Forever, which is our new Times Square frame that's 3D and very fancy. I designed it with my designer, Chris, for Forever. So I hope you love it. So you can check that out on our website, www.broadwayupclose.com/souvenirs. Wood is back in stock. So we can do your custom ticket stubs, which right after this, I'm going to make some more custom ticket stubs for you because we got a whole bunch of orders last night because you guys are awesome. And then as always, our entire journey, you can follow along the Broadway Passport, theater by theater, the booth, all the theaters, all 41 are in here to stamp all of the shows you've seen and stamp your way through Broadway. As always, let me throw up where you can find all that. which I already told you, BroadwayUpClose.com/souvenirs. And then for more information about us to follow along at Broadway Up Close, you're already here on Facebook, so I imagine you already follow us here. And then every Sunday on YouTube, we take the entire week's both interview from Saturday and all of the videos we've done throughout the week. And we put those on our YouTube page for one kind of binge watching moment at the end of every week. Thank you for spending, we're now 25% of the way through our journey. Thank you for spending your Saturday with me and Rebecca, and one day closer to Broadway. We'll see you on Monday for our next theater, which is centered in the middle of Times Square. It's very fancy, it's very famous, it's very large, and lots of things are happening to it right now, construction-wise. So more on that next week. I love you all. One day closer to Broadway. Have a wonderful Saturday, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.